Hello, beautiful. Welcome to another episode of the Lovegodesss Podcast. And today I want to dive into the topic of you're not exhausted, you are simply unexpressed. The hidden costs of being a good girl. Good girl conditioning. We all being brought up into adulthood as women, most of us, with the conditioning of if you do this, you are going to be if you are a nice girl, you're gonna get the toy. If you are a good girl, you're gonna get to go to the party, or you're gonna have a sleepover with your friends. And while our parents don't mean necessarily anything bad about giving us the good girl conditioning, they're just trying to make you abide by their rules. And so you understand the assignment when you grow up. You understand the assignment that in order to please someone, you need to play by their rules. And so you want to be liked. You want to be happy. You want other people to be happy to be around you. And therefore, what you end up doing is people pleasing. Okay? And so when you're people pleasing, guess what? Other person is more important than you. That other person is more important than your own persona, your own self. And most women, unfortunately, don't even know who they are. Most women end up living life playing by somebody else's rules instead of setting their own rules for life. Instead of declaring, this is my life and I am the most important person in my life. And therefore, I will create my own rules for life, for success, for living life on my terms. Living life on my terms, not on somebody else's terms. And some women end up living life like that into their old age. And it's so sad to me to hear that this woman in her age 60, age 70, never had an orgasm with her husband. Never knew what it's like to live life for herself. Because she was caretaker for the children, caretaker for the husband. She ran the household. She washed the dishes. She was the maid. She the wife, all of that. And so many women end up living that kind of life and never get to know what it's like to live life on their terms, what it's like to be happy. Because selfish is such a bad word. Selfish is such a bad word in this society, because guess what? If you can't be selfish because you are needed selfless, so somebody else can be selfish, so you can serve somebody else's ego in sacrifice of your own. Okay? But it is us women. It is us women who willingly give that power away, who are not standing up for ourselves, who are not thinking that our own time, our own life, our own identity is important. We are living for someone else, but in that, we are losing out, living life on our terms. And once you learn to live life on those terms for yourself, you can't go back. You can't go back. And sometimes it means cutting off those people who are no longer fit into that old lifestyle. Cutting off those people who want you for themselves, who want you to serve them. Sometimes it means declaring and stating that no more. I am ready. I'm ready to reclaim my own life. I am ready to live life for me, and I am ready to live life on my terms, and I'm ready to create rules for my own life. I'm ready, and I'm ready, and I'm ready. And that might look different. That might look, for some women, that might look, I've never allowed myself a break to read a book. While for others, that might look like, I'm just gonna go and have my own vacation without my family, without my husband, without the kids. I'm just gonna go. They stop thinking in terms of like, what would they think? Is it a bad thing to do? Am I a bad mom for doing that? When I started doing that, I had all sorts of feelings about it, but I just said, you know what, that makes me happy. I am ready to do this for me. I need it. Because in my own life, this is what's been happening. I've been wanting to live life. I've been wanting and dying to go on those vacations. I've been wanting and dying to have fun in life. And I thought, because I'm a married woman, I need to include and that was before we had kids. Because I'm a married woman, I needed to include my husband in all of those activities. We need to go on vacations together because, like, it's not me anymore, it's us, right? And what I ended up doing is not going on those vacations. And you know why? We haven't gone on those vacations together. You know why? For once, it was the time when none of us had really finances. We were working for other people, and we weren't getting paid much. So there was no financial independence element to that. But second was probably more prominent reason why we haven't done so. We haven't done so, or should I say I haven't done so, because I always ended up waiting on my husband and waiting and waiting and waiting until his schedule allows, until he's ready, until whatever, until we save money, until this. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And one day I just couldn't wait no more. I remember like something happened about like him not standing up in the area. I wanted for him to stand up in like buying a land right next to our house that was available for a really, let's call it dirt cheap price. To us, it wasn't back then, but if you think right now, it's like, whoa, mind blown. And at that point, I've been waiting on many things from him for years. I'm gonna say 10 years. I've been waiting for him to step up into the role that I wanted for him to play. But what I have been waiting is for my own, a part of myself or myself to step into that role. So what I wanted from him was actually the part of me that wanted to rise She just didn't know how, nor she thought she wanted, like, that part was my own masculine part. It's the part I was in my feminine, and I was waiting, and but that turned into toxic, injured feminine instinct. I was waiting and waiting and waiting for him to stand up instead of taking that responsibility, and that's a masculine trait. Taking that responsibility for my own life, for my own success, for my own pleasure, for my own excitement, for my own adventure, and just go. Because I thought I needed to wait on him. I thought we needed to do this together. And at some point I decided I can't wait anymore. I can't wait for him to stand up and like earn the money. I can't wait for me to like delay my living the fun life that I wanted to live. I could not, like, I can't wait on so many other areas. And there was so much resistance in me, but that was also a turning point for me to step into my own responsibility and take that responsibility and step into my own masculine side and take responsibility for my life. That also meant claiming what I wanted. Finally claiming, instead of being upset or injured that I keep on waiting and I still don't have it. Being in my victim story. Because that's what it is. It's being in my victim story because I wanted for this to be handed to me. And I ended up figuring out a way how I can bring it into life. It took a while, took years, took starting a business, but in the end, that's when I started traveling. That's when I started living life for me. And that's when I started being happy maybe for the first time in my life. Not being my victim. And I have not been in my victim ever again. Because I learned how my masculine operates. And I learned to balance my feminine and masculine side together. And in balance, they create magic. So my good girl conditioning was more like toxic femininity. My good girl conditioning was more like victimhood. My good girl conditioning was more like waiting for, let's call it, the prince on the white horse, in the sense of like standing up, like waiting for my husband to stand up and like give me what I wanted, because I've been relaying those responsibilities, those dreams, and I've been associating them with another person who had no, like, that was not his job to begin with. And all that was simply self-abandoning myself. That's all that was. Self-abandoning myself. Do I wait now? No. Immediately I go do it. I no longer question, oh, what would other people think about me? No, I don't care. Because that is what makes me happy. And that is the life that I declare I get to have. And I stand out and I take that action and I claim it. And it does require for me to use my masculine side and balance it out with my feminine side to bring both of them together, right? So what does your good girl conditioning looks like? Is your good girl conditioning looks like self-abandonment? Because you are either also waiting, or you are sacrificing what is fun for you, or you are seeking approval from your husband, your mom, your parents, your friends, other people. Seeking for other people to tell you, oh, what a nice girl. I had an employee last year who was who had a very deep wound. Ended up being very toxic for me. I did go through a recovery phase, but the person have taken my trust, has love bombed me, turned out to be narcissistic and self-obsessed. But besides the point, that came from insecurity. Anything narcissistic is always and forever coming from the place of insecurity. Okay? And the reason why I'm mentioning that situation is she had this programming of being the nice girl, being the sweetest one, showing the happiest side of herself. But deep down, I know that it is not true, because her car breaks down all the time, or she has really negative toxic environment in her home, or certain things happen, or she has a health scare. All those things, they don't come out of nowhere. That's not an unfortunate accident. It's your energetic state. So on the outside, the person is very happy, right? And you think, oh my God, what a sweet, nice little girl. Little girl. But then you see the proof in life, and you see, why do you have the health scare? That's weird. Because the only reason you would is if you are rotting on the inside. That's literal interpretation of why our body stops functioning properly, is when we have lots of negative energies that are against the universal life force. Okay? Me, the energetic coach who knows how life force operates, how energy works, the only reason that person would have had a health scare is if her energy wasn't flowing properly, because she was in a negative state programming that. Right? But on the outside, and I've met a few of those people, they have such a polished outside. They speak so smooth. They're so sweet. In any other case, you would be like, oh my God, she's amazing. And then she love bombs you, and then this, and then that, and then a year or 8 months into that, let's call it relationship, you start noticing that she throws some negative remarks or comments, and you're like, wait a second, what was that about? Is it me or is it her? And you start questioning, because you're being gaslit. You start questioning, oh, is it me or is it her? Am I really not that da-da-da? Right? So anyway, all of that to say is her good girl conditioning turned into toxic idea of I need to be really nice on the outside, right? But people who know, they know. That's why I wasn't fully buying her stuff, because I knew I was just giving her too much. I was too good to her to allow her another chance after another chance after another chance. So anyway, that aside, is your good girl conditioning because you think you need to earn love from other people, because that person needed to hear that validation from others. That's the reason why I started bringing that person's up, is because she had such a need to validate herself that she told me, her boss, that I am not giving her enough encouragement. And that was another, it was a tactic, gaslighting. But on the other hand, that also became obvious to me that she's the only one, like, I'm giving and not, like, what kind of encouragement? I'm giving good encouragement to my people, but, like, how much more does she need? Is that why she's being so sweet? Is that why she is, like, doing this and that? Like, and now we're in kindergarten. Right? So anyway, all of that to say, how does your good girl conditioning play out on the outside? Is your good girl conditioning coming from the place of insecurity? Because if it's coming from a place of insecurity, you need to work on your shadows, girl. That's why that is what we are doing here with me at the Lovegodesss Club. We are working on our shadows. If you are feeling exhausted, okay? If you are feeling exhausted, most likely you are suppressing. If you're feeling exhausted, there is two cross currents that are happening. One that is going forward, another one is pulling backwards, and you're like, it's a tug of war. You're trying to pull both ways and you're going and moving nowhere, right? That's where tiredness comes from, because there is too much resistance that is happening. Like, we could, as people, we have potential to never be tired. But because we live in the 3D world and there's all these situations that come up that we make negative meaning out of, and that is taking our energy and our supply of energy, and that's why we are tired. We get tired. So every night we go to bed, we sleep, we recharge, we receive from the universe a supply of energy for that day so we could continue. And I'm going really, really deep here, all right, with this. 3D matrix is not real. It's an illusion that we as a society keep recreating. And in order to maintain that illusion, we have to go to sleep to receive the amount of energy to continue on reliving in the 3D world. But ultimately, if we are in a state of a complete non-resistance, we would not get tired at all. And when we pass, we are in a state of complete non-resistance because there's nothing but love. God, universe, source, all that is, including us, we are fractal expression of God. We are completely non-resistant. We are source, we are love, right? And if we were living our material lives from that place, we would not get tired, okay? But here's the thing. Most likely, if you are working so hard on maintaining that good girl persona, good girl mentality, good girl image, you are suppressing, which is resistance. You are suppressing your own self-expression, which is your replenishment. You're suppressing your own self-expression, and you are not able to receive energy from things like being authentic, right? And being authentic is probably the number one, like, because you're coming back to yourself. Being authentic is the only way you can live in your life. I can't even imagine. I've been living authentically for the longest time. I can't even imagine how, like, I can't even comprehend how would one live life inauthentically, creating this fake persona in their life. That's a torture to live through. Torture. How are you not being yourself? Because you can't fulfill your dreams. You can't create life on your terms, because you always have to maintain that fake persona. It's not a fun way. Like, and people, you're afraid because the reason why you are keep recreating this fake persona is because you think people will not accept you for who you are, because you think you need to be perfect, and nobody gives a flying fuck about that. You need to accept yourself for being imperfect, whatever that means, because you are perfect no matter what. In the eyes of God, you're perfect. And so what? You have like imperfect haircut or imperfect brows, like, so what? Nobody really cares, because they all care about themselves. And that's the end of it. So you are giving yourself too much credit by thinking that other people care. You're like living your life for others by creating this inauthentic persona, but you're not only stripping yourself from the gift of living your life authentically, fully embracing and fully loving yourself, and also you're stripping other people of the gift that only you can bring into their life. By creating this fake good girl identity that is perfect, and nobody cares about you being perfect unless they want to use that in their own manipulative way. So, the hidden cost of being a good girl is exhaustion, is unable to reclaim your erotic identity, is being frozen and seeking approval years after years after years after years. And how does that come on the outside? It can dive into it can manifest as a burnout, low libido, emotional numbness, your disconnection from your pleasure, if you're talking sexual terms, right? So reclaiming your self-expression starts with accepting yourself for who you are. And some of you might not even know who you are. So it starts with learning who you are before you can then accept who you are and be authentic to who you are. That is why I created the Lovegodesss Club, where I curate and facilitate exploring different alter ego identities on the erotic side of things, and also doing the divine feminine activation and divine feminine work, and that will include shadow work too, to uncover what is it that you need to heal and start working on peeling those layers that you have put upon yourself, and now you don't even know who you are yourself anymore. And I invite you to join. It's only $27 a month. You can't beat that. I'm putting links into all the comments and show notes. So make sure to check out my Lovegodesss Club membership. It's a virtual online membership. Links in the show notes. And also, ladies, I want to know what other topics do you want me to cover? Because I want to share my heart out. And I want to know what is it that you want to hear from me. So send me a message either on Instagram or on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. And as a wrap up to today's episode, this is what we have learned. We have learned that your good girl conditioning is not your authentic expression. A lot of times Your good girl conditioning comes wrapped up in victim mentality or insecurities. And there could be multiple reasons to why you still can't authentically connect to yourself and fully self-express. But if you don't connect to yourself, or if you don't self-express, you will experience burnout and living life from the place of this fake identity that is not even you. And that's a very sad way to live life, because you can't truly live life as yourself, or enjoy life, or do the work that you're meant here to do. And when you are not aligned with yourself or your life's purpose, illnesses manifest quickly. Your lifespan is very short. You have people have heart attacks. If they're not aligned or living in line with their authentic self, their physical lives are also not very fulfilling, nor they're long. That's why we have short people who die early for various reasons. And I'm not just sharing that all of that is the reason. We don't, and one thing on that, we never know what karma we are working through or what soul contracts we came here to experience. So a lot of that is not on us to judge. When children die early, when people die early, while it is sad to observe, it is their soul contract that they are fulfilling, and it's not for us to judge. We know nothing about that. So the conversation today is, though, living life authentically and true to who you are, so you are not self-fulfilling short lifespan. Does that make sense? So, my love, what are our takeaways from today is learn to live life for the pleasure. Learn to know what is it that fulfills your heart and your soul, instead of waiting on other people to come and do things for you. Ask yourself, where can I step up and claim and declare and take responsibility for? Where can I come out of my victim story? And when you do that, you'll start seeing life shifting and changing, and you'll be amazed that you are a completely different person, and you also have completely different people around you. Thank you for watching. I love you so much, and I'll see you next time.